It was a cold winter night in London. Marie, a beautiful 24-year-old with curly black hair and green eyes reflecting the dim light of the streets, was wrapped in a thick overcoat and a scarf that embraced her neck, attempting to defy the biting cold marking the season. She walked on the frosty sidewalks, her steps echoing in the empty streets. The vapor of her breath drew in the air, forming fleeting clouds dissipating into the silent night. The yellowish lights of the street lamps created a welcoming atmosphere, contrasting with the darkness embracing every corner. The cold air enveloped Marie, urging her to quicken her steps towards the subway, a distant light on the horizon of her nocturnal journey. The sound of her shoe heels echoed, interspersed with the gentle murmur of the cold wind. The city, covered by the nighttime cloak, seemed like a black and white painting, leaving Marie immersed in her own thoughts. Fatigue weighed on her shoulders, a constant reminder of the long day at work. However, the resolute determination in her green eyes showed that she was determined to get home, find refuge from the cold, and rest. Approaching the subway entrance, the glow of the lights intensified and the distant sound of the tracks announced the path to the underground shelter. Marie took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of the station contrasting with the exterior cold. With each step toward the platform, she left behind the deserted streets, ready to face the next stage of her nightly journey. Upon reaching the platform, Marie noticed that the next train would take a few minutes. She found an empty seat, feeling momentary relief as she unloaded the weight of the day. While waiting, Marie observed the people around her. Some distracted passengers read newspapers, others listened to music with headphones, each immersed in their transient reality. The subway, a pulsating extension of urban life, was about to take her back to the comfort of home. Finally, the lights along the tracks announced the arrival of the train. The characteristic sound of brakes and the gentle noise of sliding wagons filled the station, and Marie stood up, ready to board. As the train doors opened, a gust of cold air swept the platform. Marie entered the carriage and sat down. The artificial warmth of the subway contrasted with the cold she had faced outside. Seated in the chair, Marie realized that there was no one else in that carriage. The silence in the subway car was deafening. Marie looked around as if in disbelief that she was completely alone. The train began to move slowly, and the flickering lights enlarged the shadows in the dark corners of the carriage. The cold air seemed heavier now, creating a suspenseful atmosphere. Marie's heart started beating faster, an uncomfortable and strange sensation. Her eyes examined every corner, trying to penetrate the darkness that was settling in. The noise of the train on the tracks seemed like a macabre symphony echoing in the emptiness of the underground. Suddenly, the lights in the carriage flickered, plunging it into darkness for agonizing moments. When the light returned, Marie felt a shiver down her spine. A vague figure took shape at the end of the carriage, a sinister shadow that wasn't there before. She stared intently at the ethereal form approaching slowly. A sense of horror set in, but Marie was paralyzed, unable to look away. The figure took shape, revealing a pale and empty face, eyes glowing with a supernatural light. The train continued its journey, but time seemed to have slowed down for Marie. The ghostly presence was now before her, a manifestation of the unknown. Its frozen face showed no emotion, only an existence beyond the veil of reality. In a flash, the lights in the carriage went out again, plunging Marie into complete darkness. The sound of the train continued, but now it was accompanied by indistinct whispers echoing in the void. Fear gripped Marie's chest as she found herself at the mercy of forces beyond human understanding. Suddenly, the lights returned, and the figure, now a man, emerged from the shadows with a gleaming knife in hand. His face, once vacant, now twisted into a sinister smile, illuminated by the intermittent light of the carriage. The stranger's dark eyes met Marie's, and a sense of terror enveloped her like a cold mantle. Marie, unable to articulate any sound, felt her body tense, heartbeats echoing in her ears. The man advanced slowly, as if savoring the fear emanating from her. The knife's blade gleamed with cruel coldness, reflecting the tension and terror on Marie's face. Each inch the man approached increased the sense of entrapment, as if the subway carriage itself had transformed into a sinister trap. The silence of the carriage was broken only by the metallic sound of the knife being dragged across the floor, echoing like a morbid omen. Marie's face was pale, her eyes fixed on the man now just a few steps away. Irregular breathing was the only soundtrack to the terrifying scene. Suddenly, the lights flickered again, and when they returned, Marie had left her seat heading for the door separating her from the other carriage. The man, now more sinister than ever, pursued Marie with disturbing determination. Each step he took seemed to echo like an accelerated heartbeat, a dark echo of imminent agony. Marie began to run, feeling the threatening presence behind her. Her legs moved frantically, the sound of her heels hitting the ground echoing through the tunnel, an accelerated melody accompanying the rhythm of her desperation. Every time she looked back, a distorted vision of the man with the knife. Relentlessly, the man began to run after Marie. His disheveled hair flew in the air as he ran, a manifestation of his ferocity. Suddenly, Marie managed to cross 3 more carriages and locked the door of the last one behind her. The metallic sound of the latch being engaged brought momentary relief, but the tension persisted. Marie's panting breath echoed in the empty corridor of the last carriage, and the feeling of danger still hung in the air. The man, driven by sinister determination, continued his pursuit. Upon reaching the last available carriage, Marie found herself facing a crucial choice. Trembling, with only 2 alternatives, stay in that carriage, hoping to reach the next station, or jump through the only open window. In the endless tunnel, Marie made a quick decision, driven by the urgency to survive. Without hesitation, she approached the slightly open window, feeling the cold wind of the tunnel caress her face. The distant sound of the tracks created a symphony of despair as she prepared for the risky leap. At that moment, the man managed to open the door and ran towards Marie with the knife raised, almost injuring her. With a desperate impulse, Marie jumped out of the train, landing on the tracks with a dull impact. With great difficulty, Marie stood up and began to run and scream for help. The tunnel lights did not allow her to see clearly. The train continued to the next station, taking that sinister man far away from Marie. Still dazed and uncertain of what would come next, she noticed, amid the despair, the presence of another man in the tunnel. This man, making rounds on the tracks, immediately noticed Marie's distress. He ran towards her, offering assistance and comfort amidst the threatening darkness. The subway worker helped Marie out of the tunnel, guiding her to the safety of the illuminated platform. The echo of hurried footsteps and darkness were replaced by the reassuring sensation of the station lights. Marie, still trembling and traumatized, found refuge in the presence of that man who, in his nightly routine, became an unlikely hero. He helped Marie contact the police, ensuring that the authorities were informed about the incident. The police arrived promptly, initiating an investigation into the incident. Marie, now under the care of the authorities, began the process of physical and emotional recovery. The night of terror in the bowels of the subway left a lasting impact. The man who that day wore a hooded suit could not be identified by the police, leaving a veil of mystery over his identity. The sense of security that once existed disappeared, replaced by a persistent unease. The police's attempts to identify and capture the unknown man proved fruitless, further exacerbating Marie's sense of powerlessness. The uncertainty about the presence of danger around her became a constant, shaping her interactions, routine, and worldview. Even with the support of family, friends, and psychological counseling, Marie was aware that the scar from that dark night would never completely fade. Each subway ride was a painful reminder, and the simple act of walking the streets at night became a journey laden with anxiety forever.